Hello and welcome back to the Inkpot live painting series of Bolo here. I'm Grant Smith, and we have done a little bit of work since our last stream here, so I'm just going to go over what that is. And a lot of it is unfinished, so you're going to see how I accomplished this in other parts. So, all right, so let me just put on another layer here. So I did an under layer here just to fill out some of the color in some of the parts of the face. But the main portion I did was on this layer here. So as you can see from here to here, I added a lot more highlights and details to the face, especially in the section around the eye here. And I'm going to show you how I accomplished that by doing it basically on the other side here. But first, I also need to kind of get these lines here that I made for the indents in the kind of eye panel area. I'm going to need to do those as a on the other side as well. I'm just thickening up this line a little bit. So they're a little bit small, the gaps there. Oh, really shaky, that one. Oh, in there. It's a little bit better. I'm just gonna do those on the other side here. I'm just gonna take this sketch, the original drawing sketch layer here, and I'm just gonna put it over top of everything here just so I can draw in the shapes where they need to go. Oops. Make sure I'm drawing on the right layer. Alright, so now I can move that back down below everything here. And you see I got them drawn in there. Just gonna move that line, grab this color, grab my oil 3 paintbrush again. I'm not sure why that's, oh, because I'm on that layer. Okay. I'm just going to merge these layers together. And I can just go in here and fix up that a little bit. Just gonna grab kind of a highlight there. Make sure I highlight that edge a little bit. Just so it shows up shows up a little bit better. Do that edge. That side. Okay. So as you can see, basically the big change that I did was adding in more of these highlights. So that's basically what we're going to do here. Just kind of figuring out where I kind of want the larger Okay, zoom out there and take a look at the way that's looking. I do like that. Alright, I'm just going to grab the gouache blender again here. That's going to blend out that a little bit. Make it a little bit rougher, kind of like this one in here. It's a little bit rougher. Then we can start on the gold part here. So I'm just going to grab actually that first, and then I'm going to grab my paintbrush again. I'm just using that oil paintbrush again. And just get the darker tone there. Just make sure that's along, kind of along the edge of the eye where the shadow is going to be hitting. And just grab a lighter color now. Or, you know what? First I'm going to use the blender. Grab that bigger one. Just smooth out, stretch out some of that area. I'm just going to grab again using the G pen now just to put in more of the detail work. I'm just going to deselect that now. Let's grab the main highlight there. I'm just going to add in where these highlights, the brightest highlights, are going to be showing up. Just going to grab a little bit darker tone there. This is just kind of making it look a little bit more 3D-ish, so it like pops out a little bit from what's around it. Grab that major highlight again. There. Back to the paintbrushes, back to my gouache blender. Just work a little bit of stuff here. Not too much. I want to keep them kind of these bright kind of highlights. Just zoom out here. So that is very similar, but I think I need to I do need to work those in and then redo the sharp highlight over it just a little bit. And I'll grab, instead of the ink brush, I'm grabbing this the bit husky brush under the Indian ink brush. So it's still ink, but it's not like the pen ink section of the brushes. I'm just gonna grab the rough version as well here. I'm just gonna clean up some of that edge line there. All right, and now I'm just gonna grab this kind of bright green tone, and I'm just gonna put that highlight just around the edge of everything here, just to represent kind of that glow from the eyes, or from the sockets kind of coming out. I'll integrate more of that as we go along, as that light will kind of spill onto certain areas. But for now, we're going to keep it kind of contained to just this edge highlight that we're getting. Zoom out there. So that makes them really pop and look a little bit more 3D. I just notice I still have some points here that need, or details here that need to be put in. Make sure that's, so it's not grabbing the right color. There we go. Okay. So we have that there. We have that here too. We got that one kind of over there. Didn't work it quite as good as I was hoping, but it's a little detail. All right. So now you kind of understand how I did it on the other side. Now this mandala mandala thing here. So basically I'm just going in and I'm coloring in the sections that it would be in. The fairly small, I'm just using that oil brush again, but I'm just getting a little bit smaller brush. I'm just gonna grab one of the highlights there. I'm just trying to remember keep the direction of the light going in the same direction. It's an automated save that went on there. I'll just make sure I got a proper one in there done as well. And then I just switch that off again, and then I can go in there and really clean up some of that. Actually, where it's going to be darker here. Grab that again. Need a little bit thinner brush. Sometimes it's hard to do like a natural arc the way you want it to go. This kind of scaled look can be difficult in spots. Turn off that again. Main thing, just trying to be a little bit consistent with how this is working. Alright, turn that off again. So I just kind of roughed in before like a general kind of lighting kind of scheme for that section. And it does speed up, but it also, I don't know. It's one of those things where I used to do that all the time, where I would have worked out kind of like a basic shading for the head shape first. Is the first step, instead of just kind of going in there working on the highlights. And that can be quicker, and can make sure your shapes have like the general roundness or whatever you're going for. But it can also be kind of a little bit of a hindrance in you start getting, at least I do, a little bit of lack of detail going on. Another thing you'll see is I added kind of more of an aqua marine tone to the highlights in this mandala piece instead of just like the blue in the face. And I also added that tone back in to the sections there too. Come on, I grab the right tone there. So the point is to kind of make this look more 3D, which I think is working. Instead of just having this kind of just drawn on him, I want it to actually be part of him. I think it's turning out pretty good so far. I'll keep on working on it here. I just gotta make sure I have that on still. Just need a little of it showing through. I'm just gonna make sure that my, yeah, that's what I thought. Just needed to have my tool set, so my picking tool, so it's only selecting from that layer. That's just in the options of the tool, so you can click on the tool here. It's obtain display color or pick color from layer. So I just switch that to pick color from layer. I'm just gonna kind of do it for, kind of just get the drawn lightly in there for everything that's kind of left here. Just so I don't have to keep turning on and off that one layer. There, and then I can keep that off. Even if you didn't have like a pressure sensitive pen, like on my laptop I have a pressure sensitive pen, but it doesn't, I don't find that it works nearly as well as this one does. So you're basically just going to use your Alt selecting your alt colors to blend a lot more than using just the pressure of your that you're using when putting down your strokes. Like right now I can pretty much just, with this one, I can just pretty much just use pressure to define it, but even then it does help to just go in there and constantly be grabbing, and if you want a really nice mix of your colors, it's a very good technique to employ. Alright, I'm just going to zoom out a bit here. I'm going to turn off that ink drawing in the background, and now I'm just going to really go in there, create some harder shadows and more distinct highlights. Same technique for both, just going in there with the harder brush. And remember, when I say harder brush, it just means that it doesn't have soft edges. That's why I like to use the pens or the Indian ink brushes for this kind of stuff. So they're 100% opaque, so there's no the pressure sensitivity only affects the shape of the brush, not the tone. And it gives you a nice little clean edge that really helps when you're trying to define a shape. Nice clean shadow or highlight will define a shape the best. I'm just gonna push that color a little bit more towards the highlight. I'm going to go back in there with the, this is the oil brush again. And just bump up the highlight on some of this. I might end up going back in there later with some other brushes and blend some of this stuff more, but or even with the gouache blender. So I'm going back to the hard Indian ink brush there. Or the pen brush, I guess. Just make sure I get that all in there. And saving. And so that looks pretty neat, I think. And then I'm going to be moving on to probably the more of the spikes and stuff on him. Or maybe I'll go down here and I'll work on these teeth. I grabbed a picture of these gold teeth here because I think that's kind of, I want that kind of metallic teeth, I think, to him. As you can see, I kind of started with one already here. And I'm just going to go out to my reference layer, and I think it's this one, yes. Should name that one teeth. I'm just going to move that in closer to what I'm actually working on. And I will go back to my drawing layer. And this is my drawing layer. There's not much else under it. Now I'm going to turn back on the ink drawing beneath it, just so I can see where it is, where these shapes will be. Grab the pen tool again. And just put in a shape for each tooth here. Some of these I'm going to leave a little bit of space, as they are not going to be as bright as these ones. I'm just going to fill those. My monitor has a bunch of interference on it again today. I really wish I could figure out what is causing that. I think it's just because it's an old monitor and it's using VGA. So it's doing an HDMI to VGA conversion. You guys can't see it, but it's like a little static fuzz. Goes from like the bottom of the screen and goes all the way up. Like, it's very annoying. I've tried moving power cables away from it and stuff, and that didn't really seem to make much of a difference. So I'm guessing it's actually an issue with either the VGA cable or the HDMI cable. I've tried other cables with this monitor, and this one was the cleanest that I have. So unfortunately there's not a heck of a lot that I will be able to do to fix that as I work on this stuff with you guys, but just means gotta save up for a better drawing monitor at some point. Also doesn't help though that the power cable on this one got damaged, so I'm not sure if that's the issue or not. It just got bent a little bit the actual plugin section. So I don't know if that's what's causing the problem or not. Could be. I kind of doubt it, but so just kind of using the reference over there to kind of guide where I'm putting some of these highlights and stuff. And how these highlights will actually be shaped. And kind of where the the reflective shaded parts are kind of coming through. Now my shape of my tooth is quite a bit different from the one in the picture, but it definitely just helps to have a little bit of reference to get you started in the right direction of how that highlight should go. I'm just going to go in, and even though I'm just going to change a little bit of where the highlights are kind of showing up there. And what I want is kind of a darker, there we go. I want that to kind of be, just to kind of define the edge of the tooth next to it. I grab a larger brush and grab this highlight kind of area here and work that up from there. And I'm going to grab the gouache blender and I'm just going to blend that a little bit more smooth. Needs to be just a tad bit lighter. I'll go back to my oil brush, grab that, and just add in just a little bit of highlight there. Alright, so that tooth is looking pretty good. Looks a little metallic. I'm very much just gonna kind of copy what I did on that tooth for this next tooth. Just since I added in another tooth in between the incisor and the front teeth compared to what actual teeth look like for this guy, so this one's going to be a lot looser use of like reference. I'm just going in there with a fairly hard brush right now just to define those areas early, and then I'll go back in here with the lighter brush and we'll get that all put in there. Let's grab in that shaded part again. Just throwing in an edge highlight on that tooth. And I'm just going to grab a harder brush. And just add a little bit of highlights there. Still keeps that nice metal look going that we have. All right, now it's time for the incisor. I'm just going in there with the hard brush again, kind of defining where the shadow shapes are going to be on this one. Switch back to my oil brush, make it a little bit bigger again. Oh, maybe a little too big. I'm just kind of putting in where that's gonna be highlighted a little bit more. Kind of add another brighter highlight there. And the back side of this tooth here is going to be in highlight as well. I'm just going to grab the highlight here. Just adding a little bit of lightness to certain areas there. Cool. All right, and then we'll kind of do something similar on the other side here. I'll grab the kind of shaded reflection first, or the shade, I guess, portion of the way this is reflecting, and get that in there first. Then we'll work on the highlighted area. I'm just using the oil brush this time for this. Alright, now just grab the highlight there again. This time I think the highlight, we're going to pull more from this corner. I think that front tooth on this side needs a little bit more of an extreme A little bit more highlights in there. Will just help define it a little bit better. Let's change that shape a little bit more, refine that shape. Just going to refine this shape a little bit too. Yeah, it's looking good. Grab that mid-tone in there. And kind of like I did with the other side, just to kind of get these guys in there. Now let's turn off the ink for 1 second, just see kind of where we're at with the teeth. Looking kind of good, but I think I got to put an edge highlighter around here too, just to match in with that kind of like fang looking one there. So I'll go in and I'll do that as well. And just grab my bucket tool, fill those. If you press the bucket tool more than once, it will fill in some of those aliasing gaps that you're getting. Still don't know how to completely eliminate those. I know you can in this program. I'm just still unsure on how. I'm not an expert at Clip Studio Paint as of yet, but like I mentioned before in some of the other videos, that was kind of the point of the series, is I kind of wanted to learn more about Clip Studio Paint. So I figured what better way than do a bunch of live drawing and we can kind of learn together. Want some kind of highlight on that side, just not sure if I'm happy with that, but we'll see. Sorry, just checking something here on my phone. Alright, so what do we have for the next tooth? So this one has more of its shading coming kind of in here, and then we're kind of working backwards towards that other tooth. I could have done this kind of the same way that I did the in the same way that I did the other piece of silver, like around the eye there, where I didn't use any kind of reference, but it definitely does help. Gives you kind of a direction, speeds up the process a little bit. And you're not just doing whatever to whatever comes to your mind. Let's bring up the size of that brush again. So not kind of lighter there. Just using that Alt tool to get a smoother blend. I'm just going to go in there with the highlight tool again. Or not highlight tool, the harder brush there, and do my highlights. On this one, it's only getting kind of much highlight from kind of the edge portion there. A little bit along here. I'm just going to go and erase this shape with the hard eraser. And yeah, get rid of that in behind it again. Cool. So this is definitely kind of working out the way I wanted it to, so that's good. Just want to get a little bit darker in that one corner there. And that's right in there. Now for this tooth, I'm going to do very much the same kind of thing. Grab the oil brush again. I was still on the harder brush there. On purpose. Just helps when you're putting in the dark shadows too, just to have them kind of harder than the base kind of color that you start with. Let's make that brush a little bit smaller, put in this kind of spill highlight coming off that tooth. Just adding in something there. My phone is blowing up here. With numbers, I don't know. Okay, save that. So how long have we been going so far? We've been going close to an hour. I might have to do just a little bit of a shorter stream on this one today, because I want to figure out why I'm getting all these calls here. I have applied for a couple positions, so I'm hoping to get, so I just had to make sure they're not missing callbacks from that. But we'll keep going for, I don't know, 10-15 more minutes here. I feel like we didn't get a lot done in an hour. Some days, just stuff goes slower, I guess, than you want it to. Up the size of that brush just a bit, just as I want to blend in kind of areas here and pump up the highlight and others. Go in there with the hard highlight and kind of define those. Alright, turn the ink off the back layer there. Yeah, those are looking pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with those so far. One thing though is that this side isn't going nearly as high into the gums as the other side, so I'm just going to fix that. And I'm just going to give a little bit of a darker section to that as well, just to more match the depth of the shadows in the other side. Soften up that transition, darken that one. Instead of drawing around, I'm just going to do lasso tool and then a fill on these teeth on this side. It just makes it a little bit easier because then I don't have to worry about the aliased line that I was getting before. Boy, I wasn't expecting that mandala thing to take so long. I just don't find this method as quick as, say, the way we were doing it before. And then this one, I'm just gonna deselect that, and I'm just gonna paint that one in. What, I might do that on this one too. And turn off the ink drying there again, and yeah. Oh, another thing I did was this lips, so I just did the purple. That's just like the basic lighting, and then we'll go in there and we'll do some actual folds and stuff and highlights on the lips as well. But just want this kind of highlight to kind of have a little bit more of a shape of where it's going throughout, through like across. That's what I'm thinking. So that just gives it kind of a nice little line of where the highlight's hitting. I think I am going to do like kind of like the gums and more of a pinkish reddish tone. I think it will just make the everything else kind of pop. I gotta desaturate that a little bit. I'm just kind of working in and kind of following where the bone would and tissue would kind of build up there on the gums. On the bottom of your gums is quite a bit different because it's kind of, you just get these little like U shapes that kind of surround where the tooth is connected. Where you don't really get that on the top. You do, but it goes up way higher. You can kind of see it on the ridge on the bottom a little bit more. It's a little bit more pronounced, I guess. We'll just do that for now. And we'll save that. And what are we at now? At just over an hour. And let me just turn off the reference. Zoom out. And okay, so that's kind of where we're at right now. And let's just go to the drawing close-up camera angle there, and I will center that. So I think that's looking really kind of cool, creepy, kind of haunting. I think it's still really in the spirit of the character. And so I'm thinking we might need maybe 2 more sessions on this piece, but we'll see. But I thank anybody for joining me today, and I hope to see you guys again next time. And I just want you all to keep creative.